Hello, my name is Stan Copeland and I'm the pastor of Lover's Lane United Methodist Church in Dallas. I remember when I came to Lover's Lane 24 years ago that one of our first trips that we took was a trip with EO, and we went to Oberammergau for the Great Passion Play. When we think about Christmas, I think we think about food and we think about cultures along with all of the other traditions around the incarnation and the birth of Jesus. I know that when I think about growing up in rural East Texas, I think about all of the gatherings that we would have on Christmas Day. I remember that we would gather at homes and we would gather around tables. Of late, someone called me Picklin Parson, and that name has stuck. And let me tell you how I got the name, the Picklin Parson. A cousin of ours sent us some sweet pickles that they were my great-great-grandmother's recipe. And Mama Ellis called her sweet pickles Virginia Chunk Sweet Pickles. And so when I got that jar of pickles and I tasted those pickles, I said, I'm going to try my hand at pickling. And so I did just that summer with Mom, and the pickles turned out great. And then you might ask, well, why do you pickle and can in the first place? Like our son says, Dad, don't you have a freezer? And I guess there is something to say about pickling and canning isn't all that necessary, but for me, it's become somewhat of a passion. And when I think about my ministry, and I think about the days, some nearly 4 decades that I've been in ministry, I think about the time that I moved to Houston. I was diagnosed with terminal leukemia, and I started going to Children's Hospital there in Houston, where there were lots of kiddos with the leukemia. And I'd take my guitar and I'd sing to people that I would normally not see in church. And I thought, you know, that's what we should be about as Christians. We should be interfacing with people, and not necessarily like us, not necessarily those who are in our own faith communities, and not necessarily those who are in our own religious backgrounds. And then of late, with my pickling enterprise, I started interfacing with people who were interested in pickling and canning. Some of those in the church, and some of those not in the church. The thing that got me most excited was I started writing cookbooks. Now, I'd never written a cookbook or even thought about writing a cookbook, but my last cookbook that just came out a few weeks ago has a quote in it that I'd like to share. What good came out of COVID-19 isolation for you? What discoveries did you make about yourself, life matters, and global concerns during this challenging time? I'd say for me, it was cookbooks. And the cookbook I just read from is called When Life is Jarring, Recipes and Stories to Get Through Tough Times. And we have been through tough times, haven't we? You know, I've been talking to EO about a trip and a trip idea because I have a cookbook planned for next year, and then the year after and the year after. But this particular coming cookbook is going to be, what about the Christmas pickle? Recipes and stories about the good news of Christmas. And I thought how great it would be if we looked at the Christmas pickle tradition that comes out of Germany and coupled it with the trip to the Passion Play in Oberammergau. Wow, sounds pretty good. And so after talking to EO about this trip, we decided we'd go to some of these great cities in Germany, like Munich, of course, and Innsbruck and Oberammergau, and then to Prague, and then to Dresden and Leipzig, and then on to Berlin. And then when we're in the Berlin area, we're going to go just outside of Berlin to a little town called Spreewald. And Spreewald is famed for its cucumbers, and more notably, it's pickles. We're going to ride an electric train to Leidy and visit the Starrick family farm and pickle museum. And I think the group that we're going to be taking is going to smile a bit just in thinking about their Picklin Parson and how excited I'm going to be about that pickle excursion. Well, I know it may sound a little bit crazy, but I look forward to the next few years writing cookbooks. We call it Pickling with Purpose. And these cookbooks raising important questions that we can either ponder individually or can discuss in groups, because it's written kind of like a curriculum. And in doing so, to couple the cookbook with a global trip, to connect with the food of different cultures and pickling practices in different cultures, is going to be exciting. I do want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, and I want to thank EO for this opportunity to share this vision with you. So, Merry Christmas.